Prophets, Prophets, not the other kind. Yes, I'm going to look it up for the official, but not now, not yet. This will therefore be anecdotal, like the stories that I do love to hear. Okay, an interesting mishmash, a man usually, but Cassandra, who spoke the word of God, the gods, was a prophet, presumably a God-inspired person like Muhammad, got it then, or earlier the shaman, medicine man, then later the bard or poet, who created songs of praise of the ancestors of a people. There are traditions that make Moses a singer. Webster says, one who utters divinely inspired revelations, a teacher. So, we got a prophet who sees the future, praises and remembers the past of our ancestors, composes and sings these praises in poetry, is a shaman, shapeshifter, medicine man, historian, and a teacher, a very busy man or woman when they were allowed, often burnt for it. I remember a throwaway, probably in a cartoon, that Merlin saw the future by understanding the past. He was a daddy of all wise men, therefore, but very weird, unkempt, foreign, strange, unconventional, wore weird clothes, was old, bearded, hooded, mistrusted, but kept as an advisor by kings. Our Shakespeare's fool's aversion. Feste with his songs, Yorick with his jibes, gambles, songs, flashes of merriment that were wont to set the table on a roar. Lear's fool, who has no name. It was probably a true vocation. You had to have the gift. You couldn't just show up as a freshman in college and say, yeah, I signed up for a prophecy major. You were born prophetic. You don't achieve it. Lots of women too, Cassandra to St. Joan, who were both thought mad, especially by the powerful, suspected and executed by a competitive ruling class because they were very popular with the common people. They led armies, populist. I've expanded the franchises to circuses, troubadours, minstrels, buccaneers, pirates, people who lived in tents and had babies in mangers, gypsies, nomads who made their own distinctive flamencos, travelers who brought news of the outside world, undomesticated, wild, unwashed phenomenons. Podcasters are not prophets, but they seem to respect them. They're kind of in a middle world, the poor things. Tupac, Bob Marley, Van Morrison, people you quote often. They are magical to us. Patti Smith was to me, Joni Mitchell to some, I'm sure, Taylor Swift, Leonard Cohen, Billie Eilish there, Nina Simone, anyone that mesmerizes. And the best part about it, they'd none of these want to be one. Want to be one, aspire to be one, motivated to be one. You just are one, not ambitious to be one. Sometimes I wonder, is it even talent or just a skill set that a certain life demands, that the nomad needs? Cold, dark nights need campfires and song, a talent unnecessary in 4 warm walls and a commute on Mondays. A surefire test. If Jordan Peterson is like he is, he ain't no prophet. Too much money and self-congratulation. Another trait, they seldom sell books. Dead giveaway of a false prophet, as with everything. Prophets can be pretty thin material if the need of one is great enough, and the need is always great where false prophets congregate. Not easy to do and be trusted. The hypnotic teacher might seduce without trying too easily. Dangerous for those who don't like danger. We played a play in London once, a Charles Dickens short story, word of mouth audience. One day a young lad showed up in motley, multicolored pants. He was a street performer from the Covent Garden scene, small and wiry and wide awake. We had a drink and he spoke about our show in soft Irish, acted out chunks of it. No conclusions or judgments, just obvious pleasure in reenacting what we had done an hour before. We had lit him up, which was the best thing we ever did. Somebody said one time, "What are you doing today?" of a friend. The friend said, "I'm collecting power." What does this mean? It isn't money or influence, our concepts of power. When I hear a powerful person speak, I don't feel their power. I don't encounter it. It isn't knowledge. Very often when one encounters the powerful, they have bodyguards and recognizable faces. So you feel, oh, I have seen a famous person. Some athletes have a rather obvious power. Women especially. Steffi Graf I saw, Martina Navratilova. Just saw them walking. Incredible. Sometimes the genuinely powerful are recognized. I bumped into Andrew Young once, Muhammad Ali once. Ali was disabled by that time. Maybe that was his source of power. I don't know. That's what it felt like. I'll never know. He glowed. There is basically not a lot of it about. There shouldn't be. At least not all of the time. I have heard of the great actors, but I never saw one on stage. Olivier, Burton, maybe it just doesn't exist. I've seen famous singers with tremendous something. We have been rattled by screens, films, news broadcasts. What kind of power really had Henry V before Agincourt? There is projected power, projected by the many who need the few to carry the burden, perhaps. There is undoubtedly charisma, which is a kind of power. I always felt myself compelled to watch highly concentrated people, tennis players awaiting the serve, sprinters coiling to spring, big cats ready to pounce. It is mysterious, I think, when it is encountered. Children often have it and lose it quickly. If we have it, often we'd rather not have it. Then, of course, there are cultures that do not value it, that definitely close the door on it. I just listened to Michael Sandel again, my guy, talking about what people feel. I am prompted to ask, do you feel it? Do you feel it? Are you talking about someone else? He doesn't say I, me, we, you. He says people, they, the lumpen. I think I see power in expression, a person expressing themselves uniquely and truthfully. I'll bet the Sermon on the Mount would have been a catastrophe if it had been performed by a lesser fellow, loaves and fishes notwithstanding. The great preachers we have all encountered every now and then, T.D. Jakes, MLK, sometimes I don't even hear what is being said, only how. The power is in the how, and it is limitless. It isn't. It can't be hoarded by someone unless your culture values power hoarders. Ours does, and so the power just disappears. I have a funny old relationship to religion. I don't have a problem with the stories, the miracles, the parables, the impossible ages and births, the water and wine. My problem with a religion has always been its distribution of power, not the authoritarian assumption of power, a thing extricable to monotheism, but the personal giving up of power, of personal power, the hierarchy, the assembling and the listening to. We in our world go to theatres, not cinemas, and see live performances. There is a separation between us, a gulf. We sit in the darkness, the actors are in light. One expresses, the other receives, enjoys or judges. We are going to see a man or woman possessed, a Hamlet to the life, to witness, bear witness. It is said most people would rather die than speak in public. Well, that right there is the end of democracy, guys. I do not think monotheism would have invented democracy for just this reason. In my days of going to church irreligiously with a girlfriend, I have heard one preacher of great power. It was a lovely experience, to be sure, and to be sure I didn't hear a word he said. That I can remember. He was sharing something. That is astounding. I was playing Macbeth years ago in a student matinee. I spoke a line in the middle of the crisis when he asks of his wife, "What is the clock?" A boy in the front row said 11 a.m. Then he started a dialogue with Macbeth. I was irritated. I was young. Matinees of these kinds are hard, but I was also mesmerized by what he was doing. He was participating. I saw him after, big and sullen, but he said, "Sorry, man, I didn't know I wasn't supposed to." I realized then it was my greatest achievement. I am of the theatre. It was my life for 20 years. I will die of it. It is a huge part of my culture and my culture a part of it. I've seen a couple of very successful productions recently done in what looked like aquariums. A most weird invention with mics. Old TV used to have a live audience. This new theatre has a glass case. as if actors were inside your TV. Think about it for just a second. When the sharing of the theatre is purposefully eliminated, when the circus of it is gone, something has moved on, left the station. It might be a new art form, but I'll not be in attendance. The seating gets darker and the lights get brighter, the separation greater and greater. What I would count the great times in the theatre, not cinemas, are the sharings. The player conjures a kind of power, asking it of us and returning it. It is the pitch of the great funny people and the great singers. Unselfish power, given and taken. Prophetic.